The legendary Miss Britney Spears. There's not a person walking this planet right now who does not know who Britney Spears is. She needs absolutely no introduction whatsoever. As I'm sure most of you know, there's a lot of rumors going on or being spread about Britney Spears right now. Some of them way more credible than others. However, I do feel that being worried for Britney is very much warranted. In fact, I'm actually quite worried that soon we may lose Britney forever. But before I get into why I feel this way, just in case there is some fat chance in hell that Britney would ever somehow see this video, I want to make my intentions very clear. I'm not trying to fuel the hype already existing around her, and I certainly am not trying to scare her or threaten her with what I'm saying, and I sincerely hope that nothing about this video would somehow offend her. Being a fellow Sagittarius, I know how in tune with other people's feelings and instant intentions we are, and I get how alone Britney feels inside, as well as the immense sadness that comes along with it. Britney herself is not some delicate, fragile person. She is a strong-willed woman, but she does need protection because the entirety of her situation is a very, very fragile one. And honestly, I do not see anyone around her that has influence or authority over her who has her best human interests in mind. Instead, it seems that everyone around her only sees dollar signs when they look at her instead of a human being. When someone's feelings and thoughts are not being heard, acknowledged, or respected because that person is only thought of as a business venture to capitalize on, then very, very bad things tend to happen to that person. Britney, all of your fans absolutely adore you. And thanks to you always being such a humble and down-to-earth person, we will always fight for your happiness. And in this case, your safety. So what exactly do I mean by lose Britney forever? Do I mean death? Well, yeah, and I really do not like it. For well over a month now, I've been plagued with this feeling that within the next 4 years, one of these two scenarios is going to make Britney disappear. I say disappear because I don't feel right saying her name and is going to die in the same sentence together. Oh, the irony of this video. First scenario that I keep thinking of is it's going to be an unexpected death caused by a very specific reason that we'll go into in just a little bit. However, I just really don't think that it's going to be that first one. That was more of like a secondary thought. But the second scenario, which is the one that I do think it's going to be, is an accidental or deliberate death due to tampering of her prescription medications from somebody else other than herself. No, I do not think that she is going to kill herself intentionally or accidentally, but I do see someone or some small group, like 2 or 3 people around her that would or are going to accidentally or intentionally cause her to overdose on whatever prescriptions she is taking. And no, I don't know what prescriptions she has. I don't want to know what prescriptions she has. That's not what I care about. None of my business, or anyone's for that matter. That is her own private, personal, medical information that none of us need to really know. So I'm not going to go and try to find out which drugs they are and, like, you know, try to quote-unquote fact check my theory just based off of the name of the prescriptions and what they're prescribed for. We don't have to. We just need to look at what we already know. They forcibly put her into a psychiatric hospital multiple times. At one point during her conservatorship, she was told that if she wanted to see her kids ever again, then she had to keep taking all of the drugs and she had to keep performing. Or her father would pretty much quarantine her in her own home until she agreed to take the damn prescribed drugs. That's absolutely ridiculous and nothing short of abuse and extortion. And because psychiatric drugs are psychoactive or psychotropic drugs, they have different effects on different people. They can either help with psychotic episodes and unwanted manic behavior in mentally unhealthy people, or they can cause unwanted psychotic behavior episodes in mentally healthy people. See how this is a very, very slippery slope and how it could easily be manipulated to someone else's advantage? Not everyone who takes psychoactive or psychiatric needs them, should be on them, or is even actually going to benefit from them. In fact, around 50% of people who take psychoactive or psychiatric drugs have negative effects. How or why that is even possible is one simple answer. The main reason is because severely underqualified people are doing most of the prescribing. Primary care physicians have the ability to prescribe them, yet are not required to have the necessary education or knowledge of psychiatry or how psychiatric drugs work. That is truly needed to properly and responsibly prescribe mind-altering drugs. Also, these private family doctors who make house calls also tend to wrongfully over-prescribe psychiatric drugs, though these doctors are doing it maliciously and knowingly, which is Britney's case. Obviously, she would have a private doctor, and he would have to make house calls, quote-unquote, to go see her wherever she was, on tour or whatever. Britney was never psychotic in her past. Let's focus on the time frame before her divorce from Federline. So, shaving her head was not a psychotic breakdown. It wasn't an act of psychosis. It was rebellion against her handlers and her father. Many people forget that as Britney was leaving the salon, when asked why she did it, she replied, "I don't want to be attractive to them anymore. I just want them to stop touching me." This was all caught on paparazzi camera, yet it's nearly impossible to find that footage nowadays. So right before, and obviously during and after, Britney gave herself the infamous buzz cut hairdo, the TMZ paparazzi were following Britney around literally every single day. They were recording her every move. At least 4 months. They stalked her all day, every day, all while publicizing articles questioning everything about her. Was she a fit mother? Did she party too much? Is she crazy? Calling her a redneck hillbilly and calling her white trash. And this was all in 2006 to about mid-2007, before any sort of psychiatric hospitalization. When she was married to Kevin is when TMZ started to be really cruel towards her and made her a target to mock and pick apart, which I find extremely interesting because during the time that these two were married was the last time that we saw Britney truly happy. I mean, if you watched Chaotic, their little TV show that they had, she was so happy. She was genuinely happy. And it seems at that time, Hollywood got mad at her, which is kind of weird because, okay, so the one time in her extremely orchestrated life that she's genuinely happy after finding a man that she marries on her own, Hollywood gets really mad at her and starts calling her white trash and stuff because she's walking around barefoot and eating Cheetos and wearing jean shorts and gaining a tiny bit of weight. Like, it's ridiculous. And as far as the barefoot thing goes, like, when you're walking around outside barefoot, you're grounding yourself, which is a very spiritually good thing to do. And I just find it very awkward and very ironic that Hollywood got so mad at her and was harassing her daily during the time that she was spiritually doing something that was very good for her, and also during the time that she was actually genuinely happy. Since I'm on that topic, I want to say this. I am so disappointed and disgusted with Kevin. I cannot believe that he allowed their son to exploit his own mother by recording Britney without her knowing, just to turn around and use it against her. Major lowball, Kevin. Not cool. But I guess what should I expect from someone who was probably just using Britney for clout as well? If so, then that kills me, because she was so smitten with him and in a great place emotionally and mentally while they were filming the TV series Chaotic. I mean, for Christ's sake, their wedding was at least a real wedding with both of them being brought to tears. They even surprised all their guests with like a really big, awesome surprise. And lo and behold, guess who's the one that shows up late, doesn't even read the invitation, and then does not smile not once throughout the entire event? Her father, Jamie, who I'm going to be straight up about right now anyway. That guy is an alcoholic. For real. Just look at his disgusting nose. So why was an alcoholic trusted over Britney? Money, money, money. Every single person in Britney's immediate family had a position or role in her conservatorship, and they all profited immensely from it. Not to mention all the corrupt strangers who also profited off her slavery once they were hired. Unfortunately, Britney Spears, to those around her, has become a brand and no longer a person. A brand to sell and profit off of in any way possible. Her own bodyguard sold her out and was opening the blinds of the salon to allow TMZ to get the pictures of her shaving her head. Yeah, real secure. Anyway, I'm kind of getting off track here. So, Britney was not crazy before or during her buzz cut. Hollywood started being a bully towards Britney once she was genuinely happy and was experiencing new life things. You have to remember, Britney has been an A-list celebrity since she was 16 years old. 16! She started even way younger than that, meaning most of Britney's childhood was spent preparing her for Hollywood, and then her adolescent years she literally spent under the spotlight, where she still remains today. There was/is so many life experiences that Britney has never had, ones that we take for granted every day. Experiences like high school, real teenage friendships, going camping, waking up in a tent to the birds serenading you. Even something as simple as sitting on the corner of a street to smoke a cigarette and simply watch traffic go by. That freedom of anonymity to do whatever pops into your mind at any given moment, no matter how mundane or stigmatized. She hasn't had since she was probably 10 or 11 years old. My point is that Kevin was the exact amount of nobody special and streetwise that Britney needed to enable her to get some of those experiences. Thus why she was so smitten with him. It was clearly her only and last real relationship. Sorry, Sam, I don't trust your intentions. But Hollywood was not going to stand for some stoner-eyed white trash backup dancer coming up and taking their prized pop prophet princess and making her happy, chunky, and a normal human being, showing her what real life's about and how stupid and shallow Hollywood life really is. So they start by bashing their relationship from pretty much the immediate start, pretty much through the entire 3 years that they were married, which probably then did cause tension in the relationship. And then they hired TMZ to straight up gang stalk Britney for months, snapping pictures of every step she took, day and night. And in the morning, there'd be a new TMZ story bashing Britney over some bogus claims, all while she is going through a very public divorce and custody battle. I would have beat the crap out of a car with an umbrella too, at that very least, if I were in her shoes at that time. So knowing that she shaved her head for the reasons that she said she did makes me have a lot of empathy for her. God only knows what she's been through with all those disgusting Hollywood perps. Then somewhere along the lines, individuals that were constantly around her, whom she definitely trusted, orchestrated together drugging Britney with psychiatric drugs by spiking her drinks until they convinced enough people around her, including her family, that they should roofie Britney to the point of her passing out so they can then drive her to a psychiatric hospital where she is then 5150'd upon being woken up. No joke, her mother is whom actually roofied her before taking her to that hospital. Absolutely appalling. So now, on top of everything that she's already been dealing with, now add the fact that she's faced with the harsh reality of no one being on her side, of even her own mother going against her and drugging her. So dementia is what they claimed Britney had, and the reason behind them needing the conservatorship. Dementia. So this, at the time, 26-year-old, incredibly healthy person, out of seemingly nowhere, has dementia and cannot make any responsible decisions for herself. She's too sick to think right, so she's too sick to act right, and too sick to have a cell phone, too sick to go outside, to drive a car, or order a pizza, and she's got to keep taking these pills because she's so sick. But yet somehow she's able to learn numerous dances, produce multiple studio albums, be a judge on TV, have a residency in Vegas where she performs 3 nights a week, where she's harnessed to cables and jumps from 30-foot stage props, descending onto the hot stage with spotlights blinding her eyes. Really? I must have the wrong definition for dementia then, because I don't see where or how that is even possible. It's not at all. Britney didn't need the pills because she was sick. She was sick because of the damn pills. And being worked to the point of exhaustion. Reminds me of two other really famous people. Who was it again? Oh yeah, Michael Jackson and Marilyn Monroe. Also, sort of, Princess Diana. They worked Britney and Michael until they collapsed. They hounded Britney and Marilyn to the point of developing severe social anxiety. They stalked Diana until they killed her, just like they stalked Britney. Does anyone remember Marilyn in her last years? She was a shell of her former self, so out of it on all the drugs they propped her full of and half-conscious. Smiling, but with sad, hurt, confused, and afraid eyes just ready to cry. Britney, in November of last year, stated that she is not sure how conscious she was at her wedding to Sam Asghari. So that just fuels the fact that a lot of people think it was an arranged marriage. So the whole clone rumor about Britney right now stems from a couple different things, like her Break the Ice music video and her having a lot of similarities to Miss Norma Jean. And for anyone who's been caught up on this clone rumor, I found a document that I'll leave a link for that is of the Human Cloning Prohibition Act of 2003. Little spoiler alert, they did not pass it, meaning they did not prohibit human cloning. But as far as Britney being a clone goes, faces tend to change people with age and with plastic surgery. If you're ever really in doubt, just check out Britney's ass. I'm sorry, but she has an amazing ass, and I highly doubt any amount of science could duplicate that. Only God could make something like that. Okay, we're almost done here, I promise. So I'm also going to leave a link for her infamous 2007 VMA performance. I'm sure some of you already know the one that I'm talking about. But while I was watching it live, it was so incredibly hard to watch. I felt so bad for her. You could just see how uncomfortable she was with herself and with being in front of people. Like, she wasn't ready to be put on display yet. And it was just really torturous to watch. But she managed to stick it out and finished the performance and didn't run off stage crying or anything like that. When she reached backstage, she did break down in tears, and she was quoted as saying that she could see herself on all the giant screens throughout the venue and that she looked like a fat pig. I'm sorry, if this is fat, then I can guarantee that 95% of all those reporters the next day that were mocking her and calling her fat are morbidly obese. This is not fat, people. If you think this is fat, you need to seriously reevaluate yourself, because those thoughts are crazy, and if anything, you should be mentally evaluated. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I got my point across. Britney didn't go crazy. Hollywood made her crazy on purpose. They ruined her marriage, took her kids, stole her family from her, and stripped her of every right that she had as a human being. Supposedly, the conservatorship is over, but as far as Britney's Instagram goes, her fight is far from over. So, not that I'm saying we should all sympathize for celebrities, but in her case, she was always, like I said, a Hollywood sweetheart. She was never rude to anyone. She was never racist. She was never caught up in any sort of scandal until they started telling us that she was crazy. And this whole 2007 VMA performance, I kind of have a theory about. Britney had technically never paid the price for being at the tippy top of the Hollywood royalty. So I think since she offended them so bad by marrying Kevin, they used the 2007 VMA performance as her humiliation ritual initiation back into the upper echelons of Hollywood. So if you already knew all this information, or you just simply do not care about Britney Spears and her situation, I want you to at least take this away from this video. Look at the Free Britney movement. Look at how it brought the needed attention to her conservatorship and the corruption going on behind it. As well as, ready for this one, not very many people know this, Britney has an internal contraceptive that was put in her against her will. She is also why this abortion thing started becoming this huge thing, because they are also controlling her body in that sense. So, with the whole Free Britney movement, people think that protesting and holding signs and just showing your support for something doesn't do anything. And you're right, it doesn't if there's only 2 or 3 people there. But when there's massive amounts of people that are showing that we won't put up with something, stuff gets done. Now, if only we could do that for things that really matter in this world. Things that affect all of us and not just one individual. Thank you for watching, and please like, subscribe, and share, and as always, God bless.